This is a Tecumseh overhead valve. I believe it's a 5.5 horse off of a snowblower. Got a couple other very similar engines that I think came off of go-karts that are rated at like 6 or 6.5 horsepower. They're a 195cc. I'm gonna disassemble it and check out its general condition and decide from there if I want to use it or not. But the main reason I'm even considering it is that it's a lot more compact than a Predator or a clone style motor. And what it does, it allows you to run the torque converter flat instead of having to have it angled down like you would on a clone style engine. So that would allow me to run the engine lower in the frame too. But I'm not really sure what's out there for performance parts available for this, but I know at one time I had seen a billet connecting rod from ARC. That's actually the one I used in my flathead Tecumseh that I built years ago. So I'll see if I can track that down again. Other than that, I think just a carburetor and exhaust, and the torque converter is not really going to allow it to turn a lot of RPMs anyway. I think it could be a decent all-around engine. or getting that rusty pulley removed, I went and dug up the other two engines that I have. I don't know the history on these motors other than they were on go-karts that my dad had bought, and he just pulled them off and put Predators on them. This engine came off a snowblower I used for a season. And the snowblower was kind of a piece of junk, so I just pulled the motor and junked the rest. The interesting thing that I found is that on the ID tag for this one, you know, it's Sears because it came off a Sears blower, and has a model number but not the displacement. And that's the Sears model number, not the Tecumseh model number. So these two engines, this one is a OHH60, so it's I believe a 5.5 horse, and displacement they're listing 172. Then on this engine, it's labeled as 6 horse. It's an OHH60 and 195 cc displacement. So I'm not really sure what this blower engine is going to be. I kind of expect it to be the smaller 172, but I think I'm going to pull the heads on all three of these engines and measure the bore and the stroke and see what the differences are. So these are different than how the Predator setup is. For clones, you set your adjustment with the top screw, which is a 3/16 Allen, and then it has a lock nut that, or jam nut that holds it in place. It's a 7/16. So I just broke the jam nut loose, and I'll unthread this whole assembly. Push rods are the same length. So I got the cylinder heads off of the 3 engines, and I measured the bore and stroke best I could, just to kind of see what we have here. So this is the Sears Snowblower Engine, measures at 71 millimeter bore and a 50 millimeter stroke. This is the Power Sports OHH60, and that one also measures 71 and 50. And then this is the OHH50 Power Sports engine, and that one measures at 67 millimeters by 49 millimeter stroke. So out of the 3 engines, the snowblower engine actually seems to be in the best condition. The bore has the least amount of scoring in it. So I think I'm going to take that one all the way apart. Just use that as a basis for the engine. I'm not sure if there's anything in this engine worth going after. I was wondering if maybe the Power Sports engines ran a different camshaft than the snowblower engine does. I'd be surprised if it did though. But it does have the flywheel without the ring gear for the electric starter, so I might use that. Remove this extended dipstick. It's just on threads like a regular dipstick, so I can put the standard dipstick in there if I wanted. Here you can see I'm verifying that the timing marks line up on the cam and the crankshaft. It's like a hash mark on the camshaft and a dot on the crank. So after visually inspecting the cylinder heads, I started to notice some slight differences. So this is the snowblower head, this is the 60 head, then this is the 50 head. First of all, the chambers are a little bit different design between the 50 and the 60 and snowblower, but then also the depth of the chamber is different between all three of them. Seems like from the snowblower to the 60 is 10 thousandths shorter. Then from the 60 to the 50 is 10 thousandths shorter. So with that, I would like go ahead and use the 50 head because of the smaller chamber. Then I was wondering if the valves are going to be a different size. So I pulled the valves out, and yeah, they're actually all different sizes. The 60 and the 50 have the same size intake valve, but the 60 has like a 1/2 mil larger exhaust valve. And then the snowblower has the smaller exhaust valve like the 50, but then it also has a slightly smaller intake valve than both of them. And then when I took them apart, I noticed that the valve springs coming out of the snowblower head were noticeably stiffer than what the Power Sports heads were. And you can see they're actually a different color. These are the snowblower springs, and they seem a little more tightly wound. And that would make sense with the plastic cam not being able to handle the spring pressure, and then maybe the durability in the snowblower being just running a constant RPM. I don't know. But I think with that, I'm going to try and put the 60 exhaust valve into the 50 head, and then maybe run those snowblower valve springs with the snowblower cam. So I should gain some with the compression. Port differences are very slight, but the 50 and 60 are pretty similar. You can tell the intake port's a little more conservative on the snowblower head, but I kind of like how it is a little shallower, but then it's also kind of tighter too. So I'll just do a little bit of pour work on this because it's not really worth putting a lot into. It's not a great design at all. But I'm just trying to see what I can get without putting a lot into this. So yeah, plastic camshaft in the Power Sports engine, steel camshaft in the snowblower engine. As far as I can tell, the base circle and the lift is very, very similar, but it seems like on the low profile, like not at max lift, but on the sides of them, they're a little fatter, so a little more, probably a little more duration under peak lift. I'm not sure if that's really going to be a performance gain, because I'd be scared to run a heavier valve spring with the plastic valve, the plastic camshaft. Not that I'm going crazy heavy on the spring, but I think I'd like to try to build this as durable as I can, just because they're known to be fairly fragile. And I found it interesting that the snowblower engine had the metal cam. So that completes this disassembly video. I'm gonna assess what I have here. Probably, if I did anything, I'd move forward with the snowblower block. Just needs like a light hone. You can still get an ARC billet rod for it. I haven't seen any flywheels, but I ran the flathead version of this engine with a similar build with the stock flywheel and a torque converter. So it never really saw over 5,000 RPM, and it was fine. But thanks for watching if you made it this far, and please subscribe.